Ralph Abernathy quotes, "He told us he was going to take crime out of the streets. He sure did. He took it all the way to the White House." Talking about Richard Nixon. Now, this is Reverend Ralph Abernathy, who was a civil rights activist and a minister, and Dr. Martin Luther King's right hand man. There was a few things he said pertaining to Dr. King, which there was addressed in books and things, but he was definitely leading the march, and he was definitely in awe of him, I believe. I think that was one of the things that pretty much all offset, but it was, there was some interesting things exchanged. But we're not gonna get into that. We're gonna get into what he had to say about this here, because when I go looking for, and this is, I'm doing African American quotes, and I'm looking at, I'm studying, I'm looking and reflecting about what people said, how it holds weight. One of the things about when you read quotes, you want to see how it pertains to the then and especially to the now. When I read this quote, I'm like, this really speaks to the now. Criminology, from when you were running your your campaign, and then you end up bringing it to the White House. Who does that sound like? Who does that sound like? Because don't a lot of Richard Nixon just remind you of Donald J. Trump? Don't it just seem like deja vu? The history repeats itself. It just feels like that to me. It feels like I'm, impeached, except one of them was smart enough to get up out of there. The other one just got to be dragged out and don't want to go and won't budge and says and does anything. And, you know, but they do remind me of one another, though, in so many ways. In so many ways. Because they know what they say about life. It has a way of repeating itself. History has a way of repeating itself. And if you don't learn from it, you're bound to repeat it. You're bound to vote for it again. You're bound to be hoodwinked, suckered into it. It has a tendency to kind of like just show itself again. It'll raise its ugly head. And this is kind of like when I'm reading this and everything. So it's pretty self explanatory. Politicians are like used car salespeople. They tell you what you want to hear, and it sounds good, and you can't go home without it, and it's the best deal you're going to get, and blah, 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 blah. And then when you get off the parking lot, no sooner as you make a left turn, sharp left, the muffler comes off, the light starts to break, the windows fog up, and there is no storm or nothing. You just got all kinds of problems. You just don't even know where you're going and why. But you bought into the hype. And people be guilty of the hype. They have a tendency to, they'll take hype over substance, they'll take make believe over reality, you know. So he just basically said, he said I was gonna take the crime off the streets, and he probably, well, they, most of them all have done that. I mean, none of them are clean, and they've been allowed to get away with things, most of them have. And so when you see this come into reality, it's like he's talking about a whole lifetime ago, but yet it seems, for the people who are really on the ball and not really big and fond of Donald Trump, these words sound so eerily, strikingly like, wow, this man was like prophetic. He's talking about as much of now, if not more, what more now than then, and that was bad when you consider Nixon's impeachment and all that. So pretty eye opening, but I like it when I can reveal these quotes. Wash your hands, keep your mind clear, watch out for another. Be sure to hit like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hand, keep your mind clear, watch out for another. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. I'm out one time. Peace.